We see this as giving them an opportunity to surrender what they are no longer allowed to possess.
An opportunity. Holy cow. Let's talk about the elephant in the room. That's right. That thing that wasn't supposed to exist. Ladies and gents, welcome back. Welcome to Canada, a place where we were told years and years and years ago when they were just looking to make a registry, just so we can keep track of certain items that you may have in your possession, was not a thing to eventually take those things away from you entirely. No, that would be a fallacy, we're told. What kind of fallacy? Well, we're talking about the slippery slope fallacy. Don't fall for a slippery slope argument, which takes a minor event and turns it into a major catastrophe. Well, I'm here to tell you that while the slippery slope is not, in fact, a fallacy, this is what you call incrementalism. This is the idea that they want to take something away from you, and well, let's just straight up and come out and say it. They want to take the guns away in Canada, and they've been trying to inch by inch by inch do it for a very long time. It started in the 70s, 80s, and now here we are where they're talking about an all-out gun confiscation grab. They call it a buyback. That's right. They're buying it back. The people that never sold it to you in the first place are buying it back. Now let's rewind only a couple of years ago. This is back in 2022 when the US News, that's right, over there, I think this is Newsmax. They were talking about the fact that this has been happening for a long time, and that they're trying to do it in America. It's just they're trying to do it incrementally, just like they've done in Canada, and they just demonstrate it here.
Folks, this is just the beginning. And as more crime, more mass shootings happen, which they will, because it's the left's new tool to push gun control, they're going to push it further than red flag laws. You don't believe me? Let's check in with our friendly tyrant up north, Justin Trudeau. This is him back in 2010.
The fear in here is that the first step towards registering your guns is just the first step towards taking away guns from everyone. But that's never going to happen, because here in Canada we have a culture that has grown up with guns and that respects the need to go out into the wilderness and shoot things from time to time.
God, never going to happen, right? The country with a very robust gun culture, just like America. And Trudeau says he's not coming for your guns. Well, this is Trudeau 2 weeks ago.
Here he is.
We're introducing legislation to implement a national freeze on handgun ownership.
Let's freeze that right there. That's right. A national freeze on handgun ownership. Well, we're just going to shift the goalposts over here and make sure that you can't do that. Well, what did they do afterwards? Well, they brought in Bill C-21, where they were implementing bans on making prohibited a bunch of firearms that Canadians also hold. Now, you can still own handguns if you owned them previously. You just can't acquire them. Well, that's just gonna grandfather in handguns, and then eventually those people will die off, and then they can't transfer them, so they'll have to be destroyed. This is the method. It's incrementalism. Do this. Now they've pushed to and I'm talking about firearms that Canadians hold in their possession now, firearms that were just simple firearms. And in fact, there are so many manufacturers that have been trying to comply with the law in Canada, and despite that, they've made it difficult for even those manufacturers, because they've made it possible for the RCMP to unilaterally add to the list of prohibited firearms whatever they see fit. And what are the criterias for these? Well, they say that it's a variant of another firearm, but that's not actually accurate. They just say that they look like it, and then they'll describe them as variants of these firearms. But fast forward to today, well, now they want to come to your door and confiscate those things right from your possession. Here's old Mark Carney in the House of Commons trying to defend this. It's embarrassing, really. But the fact is, Canadians keep buying it, and that's why this keeps going forward.
Mr. Speaker, the gun registry, what the government is doing with the gun registry is putting in place a much more efficient way, an efficient way for Canadians to voluntarily return prohibited firearms, voluntarily return prohibited firearms for fair compensation. This government...
Again, the idea is returning prohibited firearms as if they were always prohibited. We're talking about new prohibitions on firearms that are legitimately just regular old guns. These aren't like some weapons of war as they want to go out there and paint them as. This is literally just, they've made new provisions to make these prohibited firearms, and now they're saying you're going to return them. Well, if I was to return my prohibited firearms, I would be returning them to the manufacturer. Is that what's happening? No, you're confiscating them. This is a confiscation effort by the federal government, and it's not going to fly. But this is, let him argue it even some more.
Government is going to do it right.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
But his own Minister of Public Safety says this government is doing it wrong. He was caught on tape saying the program won't work, and yet they are going to rip $750 million away from our border and police services to harass duck hunters and farmers by banning the firearms they use. This approach has led to a 130% increase in gun crime under the Liberals' watch. The police say they won't implement it. The minister says it's a bad idea, but they're only doing it for political reasons. Why is the Prime Minister putting lives at risk for politics?
Spoilers, ladies and gents. He doesn't answer the question. Yeah, they call it question period for a reason. They don't call it answer period. Let me just get to that. Now, the actual idea here is that they're confiscating firearms, and they're not confiscating firearms from criminals because criminals don't have those registered with the government. So they're not knocking on criminals' doors saying, "Hey, we know you got something," because they don't. They don't know that criminals have these things. And who in their real mind thinks that law-abiding gun owners are the ones that are committing the crimes? No, and that's the problem. And that's the problem that's pointed out in this Newsmax article, and they're saying they caused the problem by allowing more crime on the streets, and then they purport to have a solution for that problem. And what's the solution? Well, the solution is to take away your property. That's right. Here from the CCFR pointing out this clip where they talk about their buyback program and how it's actually going to work.
Right now in Canada, there's some people with bad intentions who have in their house prohibited or non-restricted or restricted weapons without fair licensing. But the policeman is not knocking at every door to check what is in the hand of each Canadian.
Right, so they have to knock on the legal firearm owner's door to confiscate those.
They are seized when they are moved, when there's an event. So it would be the same. But all of the people in possession of one of the weapons that has been banned since 2020 and who will not participate in the compensation program will have an illegal gun in its possession, and that's a criminal act.
All right, thank you very much, everyone.
You've just made it a criminal act. I mean, it's as arbitrary as saying you know, making a new act in the law, a new law that says it's prohibited to have a red necktie. I mean, it literally is that ridiculous. You're saying a particular kind of thing that is offensive to somebody else is now prohibited, and now you're going to have to live with that. Now, of course, this let's just throw this one out there. I don't have to go very far. Cloudwalker putting this on X, saying before they collected all those wedding rings, they collected all the guns. I'm sure you can infer what that is talking about, but, well, I mean, that's only tyrannical governments are worried about an armed, peaceful, law-abiding citizenry. That is the issue here. Now, Danielle Smith, obviously not having any of this, bringing this forward, saying they're not going to go forward with this on the provincial level. This is not the way it's going to work, and God help you if you try.
We told the municipalities, no, you can't have a handgun ban. We told the RCMP, no, you cannot participate in the confiscation scheme. We've told our sheriffs that. We have told municipal forces, if you want to participate in the confiscation scheme, you have to come and get a permit from the justice minister, and I have it on good authority. He will not say yes. The proper use of the criminal code power is the way the feds will regulate around, for instance, vehicular homicide. Like, there are ways that you can use your car that kill people, and they look at that as a criminal penalty, and they charge you. But you know what they don't do? They don't come in and say, red cars have a disproportionate number of accidents, therefore we're going to ban red cars and confiscate them, right? They're able to see that there is one use of that particular piece of property that is criminal, and they let us regulate who gets a driver's license and who registers a car.
So this is the whole problem. We're arguing semantics here, and all due respect to Danielle Smith and all the other people who are advocating for firearms ownership in Canada. This is it's a distraction. They're not trying to act, all the things that they say. We're just trying to keep track of who has firearms. We want to make sure they're out there. That was the long gun registry, and then we just want to stop the sale of pistols because pistols are bad and nearing crimes. But then we want to ban all these other ones. It's a slippery slope, and the idea is that you'll argue every semantic argument across the way. The idea is they want to ban all guns in Canada. Let's just come out and say it, because that is the motive. That's the motive. They want to ban all guns in Canada, and they're going to do it in an incremental way. And until people point that fact out, they will continue to win each incremental step on the way to banning all firearms in Canada. Firearms ownership is a huge thing in Canada. What they're doing is they're rendering many, many people criminals. Now, the good news at the end of the day is they got the amnesty for one more year. They had to extend it because they couldn't make everyone a criminal overnight. Now, they're going to go forward and they're going to try this gun confiscation, even though it's not going to be illegal in some places in the Maritimes. Now, many people are advocating, if they come to your door, just say no. Just say no, because you're not actually committing a crime. They can't take it from you unless they actually make it illegal. There's an amnesty in place. But I'd love to hear what you guys have to say about this and the whole idea of the slippery slope. We're told that this is a fallacy, but we all know what they're after. Leave a comment in the comment section down below. We'll see you in the next one or in tonight's live stream at 5:30 Pacific time. That's 8:30 Eastern. We'll see you then. Keep on trucking.